Hey! So glad you could make it! Welcome to the Ollie's World Christmas Party! So, what ruined Christmas for you? The stereotypical answer is always finding out Santa isn't real, but I don't think kids cared too much about that. Or at least I didn't. As long as the presents keep coming, who cares whether it's your parents or a creepy old man getting them for you? But what if you don't get what you wanted? Or you don't get much of anything at all? That's a bit more traumatic, I think. The idea that all your friends from school are getting bigger and better things than you, that you're missing out on something through no fault of your own, just weird circumstance. But say you make it through the childhood years unscathed. What about adolescence then? AKA, where Christmas cheer goes to die, usually behind a shop till. I'll always be thankful I never had to sit in a trench in the middle of war-torn Europe, much less go over the top of it. But while modern retail hell can never compare to that very youthful horror, it does serve as our very own form of mandatory service here. Facing Gatling gun fire, or an epic line of middle-aged women returning their cheap tat and replacing it with a different form of cheap tat, both destroy your innocence, in a different way. And at least the World War I kids got to have a football match on Christmas Day. And even if you manage to make it through your youth with Christmas spirit still intact, it doesn't even matter. Now it's for the children. And you have to spend every December emptying your wallet so that some little brat can receive the giant plastic thing they've been raving about, before promptly forgetting and never playing with again after about a month. Well, at least there's always one thing you can rely on to make your Christmas time more jolly. Good old alcohol. Unless you're a kid. Or teetotal. In which case I really can't help you out of your predicament. All I can do is raise a toast to the true meaning of Christmas. Making large corporations even more profitable than they already were. Speaking of... Merry Christmas, guys! The holiday season has officially begun here at Viscera Foods. We've all been working super hard at head office. Our marketing strategies have been really productive, really trending well with hashtag the human touch, and our message and brand values have really synergized with that little journalist girl's hashtag homeless be aware movement. Really plays well with our drive to get the homeless off the streets this Christmas, get them housed at one of our Viscera Foods enrichment centers, and really fatten them up and make them nice and tender and juicy, ready for their new role here at Viscera Foods. So I've been really proud of the work my communications team has put in, and obviously it's great for them that we are now out of office until January 6th. Nice long break for my team, but unfortunately for me, the work never stops, as even though I'm out of office now, I've never looked forward to the week before Christmas, because as head of communications, I have to go around the country checking in with Viscera Foods partners in distribution, manufacturing, and retail. I go to these sites and make sure everyone there, all the little people, think that us at head office are really behind them, supporting them at this time of year, making sure that their voices are being heard, etc, etc. Of course, I and the rest of the office could not give two shits about these people. It's their own faults that they're stuck in these dead-end roles. It's always the same story. No ambition, no drive, can't budget properly. I've heard it all before. But the board insists that top people like myself get out on the ground and meet these people, give them a friendly face to represent the company, all of this. So I go in my SLS, first off to some grotty industrial park just the wrong side of the M25, the sort of place where it's hard to distinguish the sky, the pavement, and the buildings because they're all just the same shade of fuck ugly grey. The place where the scourge of humanity, truckers, gather to transport our delicious Viscera Foods products to the finest frozen food supermarkets this great country has to offer. So after I arrived, I met the distribution manager, Eric, shook his hand, gave my hand a quick rinse with my sanitary wipe afterwards. Then we gathered all the truckers or logistics associates, I'm contractually obliged to refer to them as, gave them all that rah-rah speech, we want you to work with a smile on your face, all that shit. Then opened up the floor to them, let them make their comments. Lots of negative stuff, unfortunately. The guys were saying things like, we're getting worked to the bone here. I haven't received any overtime pay for months. You're making us work Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. You suits are monsters. And I assured them that their opinion is valued by us here at Viscera Foods, and that one of my colleagues would be visiting soon to sort out any issues, so just hold tight, and that I would be meeting them later on at the manufacturing plant. That seemed to baffle them long enough for me to make my escape from this dingy grey hell, scarpered back to the Merc and drove off to my next appointment, the Big Iceland in Slough. Now, this really is a place where hope just goes to die. So absolutely the target market for Viscera Foods and our products. I was lucky enough to enter the supermarket via the back so as not to rub shoulders with the tottering aging spinsters who populate places like these, but after chatting with the manager, a boisterous Turkish man by the name of Kem, I had to go onto the shop floor to meet the sales assistants. And just like the truckers, I can't take the complaints of anyone who works at a shop seriously, and at least I can respect the truckers out there on the open road, dominating the motorways in their monstrosities. They're out seeing the world while these cashiers are stuck in a windowless box, listening to the prattlings of the worst people in the world, customers. But then again, these people put it on themselves. If only they just worked a little harder, like me, they could work in a nice office in London like human beings are meant to. Until then, they're stuck here, forcing me to meet and greet them at their tills, fake smiles all around while I ask, so how are you finding it here? Is your work productive and satisfying? And they just nod their heads, knowing that if they say anything that isn't 100% positive, Kem and I will unleash hellfire on them. And clearly one of these teenage gobshites clearly hadn't got the memo, because he unbelievably started speaking up like, yeah, actually I hate it here, Kem treats us like crap, he never pays us for all our hours, he keeps us behind all night to clear up even when it all looks clean, can you have a word with him? And so I just gave him my managerial death stare and went, oh, I'll have a word with him, alright. Went to the back, had a nice little chat with Kem, and a minute later, I came back to the boy who'd spoken up and went, hey, I just spoke to Kem, and we've agreed, actually, we really like your moxie, kid. We want to offer you a promotion with Viscera Foods. I'm actually heading over to the manufacturing office now, mate. How about you come with me and we'll get your contract done there and then? And this kid's face, you had to see it, it lit up. He probably thought he'd just found his big break, that he was on his way to earning hefty wads of cash. So he agreed, and we actually headed off to my final destination of the Poor People Tour, the manufacturing plant where the magic happens. Once upon a time, it was Eastern European horses getting fed into the grinder at one end of this majestic venue, and out of the other end of cogs and whirring things would pop an oven-ready Viscera Foods meal wrapped in plastic, are ready to be shipped off. That end product hasn't changed, but now we know that eating horses is morally reprehensible, so we've had to change what we feed into the grinder. And today's lucky winners of This Era Foods Cultural Enrichment Lottery was this lad and the half dozen or so truckers who were speaking their minds earlier. We saw them as I drove the Merc up to the plant. All of them were lined up against the exterior of it, hands on their heads, and my colleague, who had rounded them up and driven them here after I left the distro center, was aiming a Kalashnikov right at their heads, and upon seeing this, I think the kid knew the jig was up, and he, get this, dived out of the car as I was still traveling a good 20 miles an hour. He face plants on the ground, and my colleague trains the rifle on him so as when he starts to try and run away, he just gets absolutely nowhere before a bullet goes straight through his foot. Absolutely terrific aim by my colleague, ensuring neither of his legs would go to waste. That's valuable meat right there. But then we got to the real fun part, where we get to load the truckers and this crying, screaming child onto this platform that rose high above the entry point to the grinder, the mincing machine. They're all freaking out, screaming for help, but there's no escape at this point. Me and my colleagues, all looking at them from below, licking our lips, gnashing our teeth, and I was the lucky one who got to pull the lever to send these ungrateful bastards to their new roles in the company. The sight of these moaning complainers cascading towards the grinder, and their new life as This Era Foods brand human meat products is one of the more Christmassy feelings I've had in a long time. It's really put me in the Christmas spirit, let me tell you.
Meet John. I'm a normal guy, aren't I? He's fallen head over heels with Alice. I think she might be the one, you know, but she's just not too sure.
I'm thinking of breaking it off, but it's coming up to Christmas, Alice. You gotta give him one last chance. At least you'll get a present out of it.
Toast or a blender? What's she like? This Christmas, it's time to take a journey to love. How far are we from your parents' house? Are you lost? No, I have excellent sense of direction. And find out that home is where the heart is. So, you're the man my daughter's decided to shag this Christmas.
Dad?
Don't worry, lad, I've seen them all. There was the nerdy one, the squat one, the drony one, the snotty one. Starring a man who's a bit like Hugh Grant, because Hugh Grant's too old for this role now. An American actress pretending to be British for some reason. Hugh Grant as her dad. And that woman from that sitcom you liked. You know the one. Natasha? Demetriou? That one. She's the comic relief. Enter Richard Curtis's diabolical middle-class rom-com world once more. Almost home. In cinemas very, very soon. Too soon, really.
Right, fucking it's the season to be jolly, right? Cause Christmas is the time of year when dickheads buy loads of expensive shit and literally just put it all in their living rooms underneath their little decorated trees, just waiting to get fucking swatted by cunts like me. And the past few years have been very, very profitable for me in that regard, yeah. But problem is these fucking dicks are so addicted to their phones and tablets now that they never actually leave their living rooms. Time used to be people would fucking go out at Christmas, to parties, the pub, shitty fucking relatives, all of that, leaving loads of nights where I can come in through the back door and nick their fucking Xbox wrapped under the tree. But now, every fucking night, without exception, there's this one cunt sitting on his sofa in every house just staring at some screen all the way through the fucking night until past midnight, and even then they usually fall asleep right there and then on the sofa with that fucking tablet or phone just lying on top of them. And I used to think that at that point I could actually get in there and nick the phone right from on top of them, but these kinds addicted to their screens are such light fucking sleepers, yeah? These things completely fuck up your rest, not like Fortnite of course. So the first time I tried that last year, cunt darted away straight away. He called the fuzz as I fucked off sharpish, but I could have been done in there and then, mate. Wouldn't be speaking to you now, I'd be behind bars, mate. So for this Christmas I knew I needed a new strategy to distract these phone zombies for even 2 seconds to get into the house and tidy up their living rooms for them. Lucky for me, an idea came to me in the most natural places, watching the telly. My mum was making me look after my baby brother Billy, see? And Billy's not allowed to watch me play Fortnite because it's too violent apparently. So we was watching the telly instead when on comes the fucking Simpsons, right? I usually don't watch this shit, but Billy fucking loves it. So we was watching The Simpsons, and it's this Christmas episode, yeah? And like them Bart and Lisa are going up to cunt stores like and singing them carols and that, just to distract cunts while that Homer sneaks in and grabs all their shit, and I'm like seeing this and like, I'm fucking stealing that. That's gold, that's absolute genius, mate. So I turned to Billy, I'm like, alright Bill, how's about we go carrying ourselves, yeah? And he was like well into that idea. He just loves making noise, screaming out, oh fuck, throughout the house all day, yeah? And my mum's happy to see the back of him every time he leaves the house. So I'm basically doing her a favour, yeah? Getting us in peace and quiet for the holidays, for the evening. So as we was walking down to the posh end of town, I was running Billy through the pen, yeah? I'll ring the doorbell for him because he's only little. Then I'll run around the side of the house, leaving him to meet whoever answers the door with a loud Merry Christmas! And then you begin singing Silent Night or whatever the fuck. Billy loves singing, but he doesn't really sing so much, just scream everything at the top of his fucking lungs. Perfect fucking cover while I find an entry point. All these cunts have a window or a door unlocked at this time of year because I haven't checked them in for months. Thank you fucking freezing British fucking weather. So I burst in, gather up as much as I fucking possibly can, targeting any presents under the tree, but if I can't get into the living room, I'm really not fucking fussed. Anything goes, it's seller's market, mate. Just bung everything I see into the sack, get out before cunts tell Billy to fuck off, then it's on to the next house. Oh mate, we made an absolute fucking killing running this all last night. Mate, I'm so proud of little Billy on his first scam run. Like looking at a mini version of me it was, couldn't ask for a better little brother. Once I bunged all this tat off and bought all the V-Bucks I could ask for, little Billy's gonna get all the games consoles left over, and he's gonna enjoy them much more than them posh cunts ever would. Merry fucking Christmas.
My longtime business partner, James Morley, is dead. Dead as a doornail. My estate's sole executor for countless years, gone on Christmas night, many, many years ago. Yet all I see and hear at this time of year is chirpy delight and whimsy, because it just so happens to be Christmas. Rah! Humbug! All my help can talk about is how excited they are for their Christmas holiday. 1 p.m. on December 25th to 6 a.m. December 26th is approaching, and I cannot ride it at all. They wish to decorate my stony halls with flashing lights and tacky baubles, and greet me with cries of Merry Christmas. Rah! What reason is there to be merry? What a blight upon my estate's productivity the whole charade is. I even have to put up with my utterly awful great-nephew telling me, ooh, Christmas is a time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. What a wet boy he is. I'm surrounded in my own home by happy-go-lucky fools with nothing to rejoice about. But I sit in my quarters and mourn my losses this year. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere in other people's. And it was in fact last night, as I sat in my gloomy rooms with the bell, long disused, began to swing softly in the outset, then louder, then suddenly ceased, and replaced by a clanking noise as if some person were dragging a heavy chain up my staircase. And then there he was, My eyes dared to believe the sight of James Morley, his ghostly apparition screeching a dreadful cry, with his jaw hanging drooping low. Oh, I felt my knees and pled the ghost for mercy. Asked Morley, why do you trouble me? Why do you still walk the earth? The ghost replied, it is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men, and if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. I wear the chain I forged in life, and yours too, Archie, is a ponderous chain. But I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a hope of escaping my fate. You will be haunted tonight by free spirits. Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path that I tread. My time is nearly gone, Archie. Ooh. And with that, Morley's ghost floated away, leaving me to wait for the first spirit to visit me. I sat in my gigantic bed and waited for the hour of 1. When this first spirit was said to appear by Morley, I watched the clock. 1:15, 1:30, 1:45, the hour itself. And just as I was about to gloat that nothing at all had occurred, a great light filled the room, and from it emerged this white, childlike figure. I asked it, are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me? It replied, I am the ghost of Christmas past. Rise and walk with me. And the spirit took me by the hand through the wall of my room, amazingly enough, and on the other side we stood outside my old school. Why, the ghost had transported me back to some sort of phantom past. And here all my school peers were outside, engaging in frivolities such as snowball fights and skating upon the frozen pond, wishing each other Merry Christmas. Bah! So this ghost of Christmas past leads me into the school and shows me one lone child, still at his desk, still working away, very diligently, I might add, very diligently, and it was clear that this was my younger self. Then one of the other boys came in and threw a snowball at my child self, and, well, I remember what happened clear as anything after that. It all played out in front of us as I picked up a bust of Emperor Nero from a shelf in the classroom, threw it at the boy in retaliation, brained him completely, blood splattered all over all 4 walls, bits of brain scattered throughout. I mean, there really was nothing else I could do in that situation, nothing else. That's what I told the ghost, but it just floated there silently as it whisked me off to another vision of Christmas past. This time it was me as a young man, with a lady, and oh, what a lady. My first wife, and I remember the occasion well. I was sitting with her by a frozen pond, and she was crying away, complaining about my wealth. She says, another idol has displaced me. A golden one. She thought a lot of herself, didn't she? I've seen that your nobler aspirations fall off one by one, until the master passion gain engrosses you. May you be happy in the life you've chosen, alone. And she turned away from me, and we were to part. So the only thing I could do, the only thing in that situation, was to push her from behind into the pond, and the momentum of her fall broke the ice, and in she went, and into that ungodly cold water. Almost impossible to find the small hole to escape the roof of ice. There was just nothing else I could have done in that situation, really nothing else. At this point I was sensing quite a lot of judgment from the ghost of Christmas past, so the only thing I could do was lash out at the spirit with just my bare hands. I had no weapons on hand in this vision, but before I could make contact with a classic Smythe Thomas Haymaker, Queensberry rules, the ghost vanished, and I was sent careening back back into my quarters as they were before any apparition appeared. Except as I began to regain my bearings, the walls and ceiling began to grow greenery. Holly, mistletoe, ivy, all sprouted up around me, and suddenly a grand dinner emerged onto the desk. Turkeys, sausages, gravy, stuffing, mince pies, all the trimmings of Christmas dinner, including the only item I really do enjoy, the Brussels sprouts. Yum. And sitting above it all, on my fancy couch, sat a jolly giant, who proclaimed, "Come and know me better, man. I'm the ghost of Christmas presents." And this giant spirit bade me closer, but as I walked over to him, the room's festive trimmings disappeared. Then so did the whole room itself, and the spirit and I found ourselves in the village of Hyam Latimer, the high street, just beyond my vast estate. All around us were the village folk, happy sounds of Christmas cheer reverberating through the cobbled alleyways, and there too were my staff members, my great-nephew and Lucinda, my maid, and all the rest of them making merry in the local tavern. And emerging then was my great-nephew, Rob Crotchet. And the spirit and I watched him walk to his house down the road, where, through the window, we could see this happy family scene. All the Crotchets sitting around their meagre table to eat a sparse Christmas dinner. Mr. and Mrs. Crotchet, the two little Crotchets, and they're ambling towards the dinner table, supported by a heartbreakingly little crotch, was Tiny Tom. This poor little boy, so hard done by in life, was actually smiling and excited by this pitiful meal, to share it with his closest loved ones who cared for him so lovingly. And it was then I began to realize what these spirits were trying to show me in these visions, what they were trying to make me feel. So I said to the giant, "You're trying to guilt-trip me, aren't you? Admit it. You've got some little bugger acting up some disability to try to make me feel bad about myself. Well, this is my vision, and that's not how it works in my visions. So the only thing I could do in this situation, was burst straight into the Crotchet's house, make a beeline for his child before he could sit down, and I kicked the crotch out of his arms, smashing it against the wall. It exploded into a million shards of wood, and down went the boy, face first into the cold, hard Victorian floor. Well, it really was the only thing I could do. And really, if Tiny Tom had not wished to learn about Newton's first law at such an early age, he should not have hammed up his ailment to try to make me feel guilty about my treatment of others quite as much as he did. I feel for the poor chap, I do, but I have to look after myself first and foremost. Anyway, upon Tiny Tom hitting the deck, I was again thrust away from the scene by a supernatural force. It was getting a bit mundane now. I was thrown into a dark, dingy graveyard, littered with immense gravestones, imposing, daunting, and among this horrid place there stood a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards me. Here was the ghost of Christmas yet to come. He pointed a hand, without flesh, only bone, towards a series of gravestones and bade me read the names of these buried beneath them. They were all here, every single one. The boy ravaged by my hound, who I shot between the eyes. The wife, whose tea I spiked with rodenticide. The father, who my security detail roughed up and sent to the hospital. Evidently he did not survive. And the waif, who caught me dressed up like a lady, who I battered senseless with a cane. Them and every other person I sent to the grave in my lifetime. They were all here. And the phantom's inexorable finger continued to draw towards a final tombstone. One grim and neglected. It bore the name Archibald Smythe Thomas. And at this, I fell to my knees. Uncontrollably, I began to weep. I'd stayed headstrong and aloof throughout these series of visions and nightmares, but the graves of the dead by my own hand, now coupled with my own bleak, inevitable future, a dull, unloved gravestone sitting forlornly, bearing my name, it finally broke me down, and I wished to repent my actions there and then, for it was the only thing I could do in that situation. The only thing. Luckily for me, though, Lucinda, my maid, had somehow managed to find her way into my vision, into this graveyard. And wielding my trusty hunting shotgun, she bellowed, "Look out, sir!" allowing me to dive out of the way just as she unloaded a shell straight into the phantom's chest. Knocking him clean off his feet, he flew into the gravestone, causing it to crash over and break apart. And seeing this, I knew that I may yet change this shadow shown to me, and prevent my name appearing upon this stone in reality for many, many years to come. And it was at this moment I was pulled out of the vision for the final time, woken up by Lucinda standing over me in bed. In a daze, I launched up and buzzed around the room. Not because of any newfound love for Christmas or my fellow man. No, it's just something I do at this advanced age, geriatric behavior, that Lucinda's quite used to and let me get on with in private. I ran to the window, opened it, stuck my head out, and called down to one of the lads in my help loitering outside. "You there! What's today?" And he replied, "Today? Why, it's never mind what day it is, for it is just another day in my employ." And I said to that boy what I said to every member of my help that day, the message that I had learned from the free spirits that had visited me that night. Everyone, God bless me.
That's the end of our Christmas party, and I just have something to say about how you've conducted yourself this evening. Now, I'm honestly okay with a little bit of mess. I get it. It's Christmas. You have to let your hair down, have a good time. I enjoy having a good time as much as anyone. Don't get me wrong. But really, look around you. Look at the state of this place. This is a hired venue, you know? If they fine us for leaving it in this state, it's coming straight out of your paycheck. You know that, right? Honestly, look at yourself. You've really embarrassed yourself tonight, honestly. I'm gonna let you off with a warning this time, but if I see any more funny business when the office reopens, I'm gonna seriously have to crack the whip, yeah? I don't want to, but my neck is on the line as well as yours here. Now come on, get home safely. Merry Christmas.